I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, July the 20th. And this cattle market is getting more mature all the time. And I'm just proud of Ag Media. I'm proud of the way the board reacted. I'm proud of the way that the producers and your cash buyers reacted to this report that came out on Tuesday evening after the board was closed and all the trade had pretty much happened, that we did find a positive BSE case in an Alabama cow. Now, this will be the fourth atypical case that we found in the United States. The atypical strain of BSE happens spontaneously. It cannot be really gone back to any meat and bone meal or anything like that would cause it, like the classical BSE case that we found in 2003 in the cow that stole Christmas. But it's great that we have ways to try to find these in all the sale barns and your publicly traded places, at your packing plants. We have a way to surveillance these animals where you have veterinarians on site there. And it's great that we can have that work and actually find one, as they did in this Alabama cow, which happened to be at a sale barn, and they noticed it. A veterinarian recognized it. They went in and had it tested, and it did come back with an atypical case of BSE, but did not enter the food chain at all, posed no risk to any other cattle or humans. So it's good that we can have those safeguards put in place, have them work, and not have to pay the price in the market. Now, a lot of people thought maybe some word of that had leaked out, which caused the board to be down hard on Tuesday. I don't know if that's true or not. It looked like the board was going to be down anyway. It was down from the get-go on Tuesday, but the board was closed and everything before the release come out, the press release from USDA, and everybody kind of ran with the story. But then we come in on Wednesday, and everybody was a little cautious as far as the board went early. But then things just took right up, and then we saw that there was some confidence, and the confidence kind of bred more confidence, and the board ended up a whole lot higher on Wednesday, with live cattle futures all closing over $2 higher, and feeder cattle near $3 gains on Wednesday, on a day where the world really heard the news about the BSE case. But that just gives me a lot of confidence, and I'm proud of the way that everybody responded to that. Some more support was found when the Fed Cattle Exchange had their sale. Not getting a lot of cattle sold on there. We've talked about that. Had 2,900 on offer, only actually sold around 700. But it was kind of positive, because people were worried that maybe they weren't going to bring much. But actually, and the only cattle that sold on there were Southern Plains cattle and some Colorado cattle. But they all bring from 118 to 118 and a half, which is really a pretty good price. They were up about a buck lower than what last week's higher direct trade was, and that's just on 700 head. We have not established the market as of yet, but it was better than the few direct cattle that sold out of the feedlots on Tuesday, which they sold around 4,000 head, and just a few deals here and there. People that were kind of scared, wanted to get their cattle out of the heat as quick as they could, sold some cattle from 117 to 118, still not established, remind you, and a few dress sales from 187 to 189. Both of those would have been a buck or two lower, but we have not established a market now. And now it seems like, after this board was higher on Wednesday, that we could get at least steady money and maybe gain another buck. But it'd be interesting to see. But we made it through the news of this positive BSE, and everything's still fine. Well, nobody lost their farm or anything as of yet, so that's great. The big story out there, really, that's people are paying more attention to, is this big high pressure system that's sitting over the central U.S., calling it the Ring of Fire, and there's just intense heat over the majority of the central part of the United States, and then a little bit of weather going around the outside, which some of that weather around the outside is hitting the Dakotas and places like that that are really, really dry. But the thing of it is, it's coming in severe weather with high winds and hail and things like that, which is what we sure don't need. And that's lending support to the grains, which were higher there on Wednesday. But it's kind of like me when I moved back here to the Texas Panhandle. It was amazing. I'd been living in places where you'd have a shower every 2 or 3 days. In the Texas Panhandle, you don't get showers. You either get drought or severe weather. That's the only two things you get. And I'd kind of forgotten that, but I'm getting back used to it again. We look at your feeder cattle markets. Your real-time index on Wednesday afternoon was down almost $2.50, sitting at 147.95. Seemed like maybe your cash cattle guys were a little bit more cautious about those reports that came out than your futures guys were, which you don't see that very often. But OKC West having their sale on Wednesday, had a good test of yearlings. Nothing out of market news yet, but the early sales looked steady to firm. So at least on the positive side, individual quote out there at El Reno had 67 steers at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, weighed just under 800 pounds, which is where your CME index and your real-time index is based at 152 1/4, quite a bit better than that. Some more individual quotes that I heard. Green City Livestock Market, this is the first sale they've had since that 4th of July special that everybody saw and there was so much advertisement of. But back to their regular sales, which this time of year they just have a sale every 2 or 3 weeks. But had a load of 866 pound steers at 158, a load to weight 876 at 153.50, and a load weight 885 at 154. And you think that is really good out of a market that sells their cattle cut in two empty and the best quality there is. Well, you think so? What about Bluegrass Stockyards, Albany, Kentucky? Not to say these cattle weren't good, I didn't see them, but you're wondering how they're getting these big prices on these load lots out of the southeast. Well, you think about where Kentucky is, it's not that far to Indiana, Ohio, Illinois type farmer feeders, and they can get in there and get a load of those, all one grazing cattle, and feed them as soon as they get in there. They're going to have just as much trouble going out to the Midwest and trying to buy them. They might as well go down there. But you look at there at Albany at 11:30 in the morning, had 63 head of 859 pound steers, bring 153.40. That's your feeder flash for Thursday.